Well, in last lecture, I told about normalization and how we decompose a given relation up to second normal form, up to third normal form, and up to BCNF. Actually, if any relational schema has partial dependency, then we decompose that relation with respect to that partial dependency to transform into second normal form. If any relational schema has transitivity dependency, then we decompose that relation with respect to that transitive dependency. In this way, we decompose a large table into small tables. But that decomposition should be lossless joint decomposition. Okay.
सर
For
आपने
loss,
क्वेश्चन दिया था होमवर्क में।
hello,
सर आपने क्वेश्चन दिया था होमवर्क में।
I will discuss that question. ठीक है? In another lecture. Today topic is lossless decomposition. Okay. So what is the meaning of lossless decomposition? Suppose we decompose R into R1 and R2. If we decompose a relation R into R1 and R2, then if we perform join operations over R1 and R2, and if we get original schema R, then we will say that this decomposition is lossless joint decomposition. Otherwise, it is lossy decomposition. Lossless joint decomposition, also called non-additive decomposition. Lossless joint decomposition is also called non-additive decomposition, and lossy decomposition is called additive decomposition. This is also called additive decomposition. What is the meaning of additive decomposition? Suppose there are 4 tuples in this relation, and we decompose this R into R1 and R2, and join up over R1 and R2, and we get a table in which there are 6 tuples. Means in this result there are extra tuples. If we get extra tuples in the result, then also it is called lossy decomposition. Okay. If we will get less tuple, then also lossy. And if we get extra tuples in the result, suppose in the result we have all the 4 tuples. In addition to these 4 tuples, we have 2 extra tuples. Then also this decomposition is lossy decomposition, is not lossless joint decomposition. Here, let a relation R decompose into relations R1 and R2. Decomposition is lossy if we join R1 and R2 and we get, this is the superset of R, then this is the lossy decomposition. Means it contains all the tuples of the R and something additional, and that tuples are called spurious tuple. Spurious tuples. Please note it down. Extra tuples are called spurious tuples. So after decomposition, if we perform join operations, then we will get exact R. Neither less tuple in the R nor extra tuples in the R. Did you get it? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Now there are three conditions for lossless decomposition. First condition for attribute preservation. What is the meaning of attribute preservation? Attribute of R1 union attribute of R2 equal to attribute of R. If we decompose any R into n subschema, then attribute preservation means attribute of R should be equal to union of attribute of Ri and I equal to 1 to n. Okay. This is for 2 subschema and this is for n subschema. So first condition is for attribute preservation. Means each attribute of R must be either in R1 or in R2 in this case, or belongs to at least one subschema Ri. Then we will say that attributes are preserved. So for lossless joint decomposition, first condition must be satisfied. Second condition, intersection of attribute of R1 and R2 must not be null. Means at least one attribute should be common in R1 and R2. If no attribute is common between R1 and R2, then we will say that attribute of R1 intersection attribute of R2 is equal to 5. But that must not be null. That must not be 5. And third condition is common attribute R1 intersection R2 determines the attributes of R1 or attributes of R2 or attributes of both. And this is the definition of the candidate key. Means common attribute must be candidate key for at least one relation. If that common attribute is candidate key in both the relation or in n subschema, then well and good, but it must be a candidate key for at least one relation. Did you get it? Hello. These are the mandatory conditions of lossless decomposition. Okay. Now, suppose we have a table which consists of 4 attributes. Here we have a table. This is the capital D. Now, if we decompose this R into AB and R2 into CD. Then let me know whether condition 1 is satisfied or not in this decomposition. Hello. Whether condition 1 is satisfied in this decomposition or not. Mileni. Condition 1 is, if we take the union of attribute of R1 and R2, that must be equal to the attribute of R1. So here condition 1 is satisfied. Now let me know whether the condition 2 is satisfied or not. If we take the intersection, then R1 intersection R2, in this case 5, no attribute is common. So second condition is not satisfied in this decomposition. You can immediately say this is the lossy decomposition, not lossless decomposition. If we will join these two tables, then through cross join we will get 3 tuples in this and 3 tuple in this, total 9 tuples. Means we will get extra tuples in the result. But after join, there should be exact number of the tuples which exist in R. Did you get it? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Now, third condition. See this table for third condition. Suppose we have a table R and in which there are 3 attributes A, B, C and tuple A1, B1, C1, then A2, B1, C2, then A1, B2, C2. Now if we decompose this table into two small table, first table is consist of A, B and second table consists of A, C. Now let me know whether first condition is satisfied or not, whether second condition is satisfied or not in this decomposition.
Satisfied.
Both are satisfied. Why? Because R1 intersection R2 is A. So after decomposition, we will store A1 B1, then A2 B1 and then A1 B2, and here A1 C1, A2 C2 and A1 C2. Now let me know whether condition 3 is satisfied or not. Please let me know. First condition is satisfied. If we will take the union of attribute of R1 and R2, then we will get the attributes of R. Second condition, R1 intersection R2 is not equal to null, satisfied. Then third is common attributes either determines the all attributes of R1 or all attributes of R2 or all attributes of R1 and R2 both. And if any attribute determines all the attributes, then we can say that that attribute is a candidate key of R1. Did you get it? Now let me know
Yes, sir.
whether A is candidate key in R1 or not. Please let me know whether attribute A is candidate key in R1 or not. Mileni,
Yes, sir.
by seeing the tuples, you can identify whether A is candidate key of R1 or not. See all the tables and then tell me whether A is candidate key of R1 or not. See here, for these two tuples, if these tuples are agree on their A values, they must be agree on their B value. But here A1 determines B1 and A1 determines B2 also. Then we can't find whether A1 determines B1 or A1 determines B2. So this is not allowed. But if we write here B1, A1 determines B1, then you can say that A determines B. But here A does not determine B, and if A does not determine B, it means that A is not candidate key. Did you get it?
Yes, sir.
And same thing is here. Here also, for these two tuples, they agree on their A values but not agree on their C value. It means that A does not determine C. So here A is neither the candidate key of R1 nor the candidate key of R2, means third condition is not satisfied. So this decomposition is not lossless decomposition. Now after joining, let us see how many tuples we get in the result. Suppose we perform natural join. Then after performing natural join, there are three columns and duplicate column we ignore in natural join. Okay. Now if we want to associate this tuple with the tuple of R2, then this tuple will associate with two tuple. First with A1 and second with this A1. So if we associate this tuple with this, then we will get A1, B1, C1. And if this tuple is associated with this tuple, then we will get A1, B1, C2. Now this tuple is associated with only this tuple. Why? Because R1 dot A equal to R2 dot A. We will associate this tuple with this tuple. Then we will get A2, B1, C2. Again for third, this is also associated with this tuple and this tuple. Why? Because A1, A1 common. So here we will write A1, B2, C1, then A1, B2, C2. Now see, in this result, after performing join operations, we get 5 tuples. But in original R, there are only 3 tuples. So this is in the result. Then A2 B1 C2, this is also in the result. Then A1 B2 C2, A1 B2 C2, this is also in the result. Now these two tuples are extra, and these tuples are called spurious tuple. These tuples are called spurious, SPURIOUS, spurious tuples. And as per the conditions, this is also loss. This decomposition is not lossless decomposition. Did you get it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if we change the tuple in this table, suppose here we store A1, B1, C2. Okay. Now again we decompose this table into R1 and R2. In R1, AB, and in R2, AC. Now in R1 table, we will have A1, B1, A2, B1, and there is no need to store again A1, B1. This is not allowed in the relation. Did you get it? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Now in AC, A1, C1, A2, C2, and A1, C2. All are different tuples. Then here we will keep all the three tuples. Now, if we will perform the join operations, then in this we will get this tuple is associated with this tuple and this tuple. So from that we will get A1, B1, C1. And if we associate with this tuple, then we will get A1, B1, C2. Now second tuple of R1 is associated with only the second tuple of R2. Then we will get A2, B1, C2. So in the result, we will get only three tuples. No extra tuples and no less tuples. We can say that it is lossless joint decomposition. Now see whether third condition is satisfied. See here, common attribute A is a candidate key in R1. Why? Because unique value, okay, there is no redundancy. If there occurs redundancy, then B values must be agree, but with the definition of relation we can ignore A1 B1. Why? Because in relation same element we can't store. So see here, if A attribute is a candidate key of R1, and here A is not the candidate key of R2, but at least common attribute must be candidate key of at least one relation. In one relation, if common attribute is candidate key, then decomposition is lossless joint decomposition. Did you get it? Hello. Please let me know. Mileni,
Yes, sir.
have you understood the concept of decomposition and then there are two types of decomposition: lossless joint decomposition and lossy decomposition. Which decomposition is good?
Lossless.
Lossless joint decomposition. And in normalization, we generally decompose relation up to third normal form, VCNF. Then you have to see this also, decomposition must be lossless joint decomposition. Otherwise, there occurs a loss of information and some result you are not able to get from the tables. So these three conditions are mandatory conditions for lossless joint decomposition. Fourth condition is of dependency preservation, but that condition is not mandatory. That condition is desirable. But if you preserve the dependency in the sub-schema, then your decomposition is well and good. But fourth condition is not mandatory. So question has been asked in AKTU and GATE examination whether this decomposition is lossless joint decomposition or not. And second, whether dependencies are preserved in this decomposition or not. For that, we will check the fourth condition. First condition is of attribute preservation. And second, there should be a common attribute. And third condition, common attribute should either be candidate key of R1 or R2. But in the case of n subschema, that common attribute must be a key for at least one relation. Now, see here. What is the dependency preservation? Suppose we have relation R and set of FDs holds on R is F, and in this there are various dependencies. A determines B, AB determines C, then D determines B. So F is a set of all the functional dependencies which hold on R. Now if we decompose this R into R1, R2, Ri and Rn, okay, and suppose F1 is a set of dependencies which hold on R1, F2 is a set of dependencies which hold on R2, and again Fi hold on Ri, and Fn set of dependencies which holds on Rn. Then we will take union of all these sets, and that is represented by F dash, and union from I equal to 1 to n Fi. Means this is union of F1, F2, Fi, then union Fn. If closure of F equal to closure of F dash, then we will say dependencies are preserved. Otherwise, dependencies are not preserved. Did you get it? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Means if all the FDs are satisfied by the FDs of this set and all the FDs are satisfied all the FDs of this set is satisfied by FD of this set, then you can say that dependencies are preserved, otherwise dependencies are not preserved. But this is not the mandatory condition. Sometimes people say that all the sub-relations should be in BCNF. This is also desirable conditions, not the mandatory conditions. Means all sub-schemas should be in BCNF. Okay. I have already told you that industry people generally normalize table up to BCNF. And BCNF is a stronger form of third normal form. Then your database design is good. But if we decompose relation up to BCNF, sometimes dependencies are not preserved. So for that, we again denormalize the things for retrieving the information. Fourth condition is very important, and through this condition we can find out whether all functional dependencies are preserved in decomposition or not. See here, second slide. Decomposition of a relation R into relations R1 and R2. If all dependencies of R either must be part of R1 or R2 or must be derivable from combination of functional dependencies of R1 and R2. And suppose in R there is a set of dependencies, A determines B, and then B determines C, and then A determines D. And we decompose R into R1, then R2, then R3. In this, A determines B, B determines C, and A determines D. Here, by seeing, we can easily find out that all dependencies are preserved. There are three dependencies which hold on R. One is in R1, second one is R2, and third one is R3. Then there is no need to find out the canonical cover. But sometimes by seeing you can't find out that whether dependencies are preserved or not. Okay, but through logically inferred FD, that FD may be preserved. So definition of that, now this is the F1, this is the F2, and this is the F3. Then condition is closure of F should be equal to closure of F dash, and F dash is union of F1, F2, F3. We will not write that if F equal to F dash, then dependencies are preserved. Element wise we can't compare. If all these FDs are satisfied by these FDs, or all these FDs are satisfied by these FDs, then you can say dependencies are preserved. So in GATE examination, generally question is of this type, कि by seeing you can't identify whether dependencies are preserved or not. By seeing you say no, dependencies are not preserved, but if we find out the canonical cover, then you will see that dependencies are preserved. Did you get it? Hello.
Yes, sir.
This is very important concept, dependency preservation, and this is not the mandatory conditions for lossless decomposition. And his theorem also says this thing कि if Heath's theorem, in normalization generally we decompose a relation into sub-relation according to Heath's theorem. And his theorem says if we have any relation alpha, beta, gamma, and alpha is a set of attributes, beta is a set of attributes, and gamma is a set of attributes. If any functional dependencies alpha determines beta exist, then we can decompose that relation into alpha, beta, and second alpha and r minus beta. And if we write r minus beta, then we will get gamma. So we decompose r into r1 and r2. And here see, alpha is a common attribute, and that common attribute is a primary key in R1. So this decomposition is lossless joint decomposition. Recall that thing, in SP table we have all the attributes S number, S name, S city, then P number, P name, then price and quantity. Then we have functional dependency. S determines S name, S city. Second, P number determines P name and price. And then S number, P number determines quantity. Then this functional dependency, suppose we have alpha determines beta. Beta is a set of attributes, not attributes. So beta is S name comma city, and S number is alpha. Then we decompose this relation into S number and S name, S city, alpha beta. This is the alpha beta. So we combine all the attributes into SP1. Then in second, S number should be common, and we discard this from the SP. Then we will get, this is the gamma. Then gamma, B number, P name, price, quantity. Again this relation is not in second normal form. The normal form, then we decompose that relation with respect to this FT. Did you get it? Hello?
Yes, sir.
In normalization, we use Heath's theorem, and his theorem always keep decomposition lossless joint decomposition. Now I hope you all understood the concept of decomposition. Okay. If you have any doubt related to previous topics and this topic, you may ask the question. Now I would like to request you all, please solve the numerical problems related to normalization. See, there are two types of the questions generally have been asked in AKTU and GATE examination. One is, please tell what is the normal form of R. Identification of normal form. So for that, first step, identify the key attributes, and then we will find out the non-key attributes, and one by one we check the whether the constants of second normal form are satisfied or not. If satisfied, then you will say that this relation is in second normal form. In second type of the question, if that R is not in the second normal form, then please decompose that normal form up to second normal form. Or if R is not in third normal form, then decompose that relation into up to third normal form. Or if R is not in BCNF, then decompose R into up to BCNF. So you should know the definition of all the normal form. Second normal form, there should not be any partial dependency, or all the non-key attributes are fully functional dependent on candidate key. And in third normal form, there should not be any transitive dependency, and all the non-key attributes are non-transitively dependent on candidate key. And in BCNF, every determinant should be candidate key. In this way, you can identify whether R is in BCNF or not. During identification, start from the last. First see whether this is in BCNF or not. If that is in BCNF, then there is no need to check whether it is in third normal form or it is in second normal form. If that is not in BCNF, then check whether it is in third normal form. If that normal form is in third normal form, then automatically that is in second normal form. So from higher normal form, we will identify the things. Did you get it? Hello?
Yes, sir.
And closure of an attribute is very important, and canonical cover of FD set. Why? Because if you identify, if you find out the closure of a given FD set, then that is very difficult to find out closure of an FD set. So through canonical cover, we identify whether these two sets are equivalent or not. Okay, let us suppose we have a functional dependency set F. We have a functional dependency set F, and in F we have A determines B and B determines C. Find out the closure of F. Then A determines B, B determines C, and then transitive relation A determines C, then A determines A, B determines B, C determines C through reflexivity rule. Then ABC determines A, all are trivial FD but in closure. Then ABC determines C. Okay, then through augmentation AB determines AC. If there are two FDs, it means that power set is 2 to the power 2, 4, and another if in R there are two attributes AB, then 2 to the power 2, 4, 4 to 4 means maximum there are, you can say that 4 into 4, 16 FD. But if there are three attributes A, B, C, in this case R consists of three attributes A, B, C, then maximum 2, 3 cross 2, 3, 64. And in 64 sum is not legal, like 5 is also, so 5 can't determines A, then 5 can't determines B, then we will discard that things. In this way we will find out the closure of FD set. So see here, only for three attributes, finding out the closure of this FD set is very difficult, and if there are 40 attributes, 50 attributes, then you can easily imagine how much time it will take. Did you get it? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Why? Because there are three attributes, means phi, A, then AB, then ABC, then again BC, then C, B. In this way 8 element, and then we will check whether A determines A, whether A determines B or not, whether A determines C or not, then whether A determines AB, whether A determines AC. In this way we will find out the closure set. And again, closure set of F, we will use the closure of an attribute set also. Suppose if we find out the closure of an attribute set A, then A, B, C, then from A determines A determines B is valid, then A determines C is valid, then A determines AB is valid, A determines BC is valid, A determines AC is valid. Did you get it? Hello?
Yes, sir.
So what is the definition of closure of an given FD set? If we apply all the Armstrong's axioms, only first three rules of Armstrong's axioms on these FDs, and suppose we get all the FDs of through Armstrong's axiom, that set is F dash. Then if we take union F dash, then we will get closure of F. So if we want to check whether these two sets are equivalent or not, then we will find out the canonical cover, minimal set of the FD set, and through which we find out that both sets are equivalent. There is no need to calculate the closure of an FD set. So I think that you all understood the philosophy behind the canonical cover of given FD set. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you, sir.